This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
I'm Roby Brock. Welcome to this edition of Talk Business and Politics, day 59 of the 93rd Arkansas General Assembly. There was a lot of action in the House, there was a lot of action in the Senate, and there was a lot of action in both chambers' committees. Let's run down some of the highlights. In the morning session, the main action was in the House Insurance and Commerce Committee, where a renter's rights bill was debated. The bill, House Bill 1563, sponsored by Representative Jimmy Gazaway, Republican of Paragould, would require landlords to provide and maintain safe and habitable housing. It would also create an eviction procedure guaranteeing a hearing to both the landlord and the tenant. Arkansas is the only state in the U.S. without an implied warranty of habitability law. There was plenty of support for the measure, but a myriad of questions were asked. The committee hearing went well into the noon hour, which is unusual. In the end, no vote was taken. It may be back up as a special order of business on Monday. In the Senate Revenue and Tax Committee, Senator Trent Garner, Republican from El Dorado, presented his bill, Senate Bill 459, to completely eliminate the used car tax in Arkansas. Right now, there is a cap on the exemption for that used car tax. Garner's measure would eliminate it totally. There was no vote on the measure per current committee rules, but the biggest hurdle will be overcoming the fiscal impact to the state. In year one, there would be a $197 million loss of revenue to the state of Arkansas. In year two, that number climbs to $263 million if the used car tax is completely abolished. In the afternoon committees, another look at proposed constitutional amendments. The House State Agencies Committee considered 3 constitutional amendments. They were somewhat complicated, dealing with ad valorem taxes, eliminating personal property taxes, and debt maintenance. The bigger debate in House state agencies was on whether or not to have partisan municipal elections. Right now, most cities and towns have candidates who are independent, with just a few exceptions. House Bill 1655 by Representative Clint Penzo, Republican of Springdale, would authorize partisan municipal elections. Filing fees would not exceed $25. The measure failed the House committee on a roll call vote, but it is likely to come back in another form. When we come back, what debates took place in the Senate and the House today? Well, there were some heated exchanges over bills dealing with transgender rights. We'll discuss both of those. And later, Senator Joyce Elliott joins us to talk about a variety of legislation moving its way through the legislature. We're back after this. Talk Business and Politics is sponsored in part by Capital Advisors Group and
You'll find us at the end of a lot of long country roads, covering over 60% of the great state of Arkansas. Our 17 electric distribution cooperatives are working day and night to provide reliable, affordable power to over 500,000 homes, farms, and businesses, just like yours. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, your local energy partners.
They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. But if you're looking for something more, Walmart has you covered. We provide quality care, no appointment necessary. Whether you're looking for fresh, healthy groceries to fill your prescription, get a flu shot, or pick up your next pair of glasses, we're standing by with in-store health professionals available across the country to offer patient-first, affordable care whenever you need it. Apples, optional.
Sandwiched between the morning and the afternoon committees, there were 2 chamber sessions, one in the House, one in the Senate, and there was some emotional testimony over transgender rights. In the House, House Bill 1570 prohibits administering gender transition treatment, including surgery and hormone therapy, to transgender people under the age of 18. In testimony regarding the bill, it was reported that no surgeries on minors are being conducted in Arkansas at this time. There is some puberty-blocking drugs being administered to minors to slow down enhanced sex characteristics. The measure passed the House after the heated debate and quite a bit of Bible reading, I might add, by a 70-22 vote margin. Down in the Senate, lawmakers had an equally heated discussion on Senate Bill 354, which would prohibit transgender women from participation in women's sports. It passed the heavily Republican Senate body on a 28-7 vote. Both of these bills have to move through the opposite chambers now, but seeing where the battle lines have been drawn, they're likely to wind up on Governor Asa Hutchinson's desk. If they become law, they're both likely to be at the center of litigation. When we come back from this break, Senator Joyce Elliott joins me to talk about a litany of legislation that she's pushing for and fighting against. Talk Business and Politics is sponsored in part by Impact Management Group and
we have a large commitment to our solar for good reason. It lowers customers' rates, it's emissions free.
Entergy Arkansas is the largest provider of solar in the state of Arkansas.
Utility scale solar is much more economic for customers. We're going to operate it, we're going to maintain it, we're going to focus on it. That's what we do for a living.
We want to continue to find ways to partner with our customers to meet their renewable energy goals.
Customers want this, we want to provide it. So our commitment is for the long term.
Stepping into the unknown, it can be difficult to find the way. But with the compassion of the cross and the security of the shield, obstacles become openings. As we have for more than 65 years, we'll continue to light the way, using our knowledge to create new healthcare solutions, giving you the power to shine forward to whatever awaits tomorrow. Arkansas Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Live fearless.
Welcome back to the program. Joining me now is State Senator Joyce Elliott, Democrat of Little Rock. Always good to see you, Senator. How are you holding up?
I am holding up, Roby. You know, some days are better than others, but I'm holding.
You've had a lot to hold this session for sure.
My arms are long.
Let's begin with earlier this week. There was a bill that you helped run that dealt with local control of school districts, obviously geared towards the Little Rock School District, although it certainly applied to other school districts that have come under state control. Tell me why you think that bill failed in committee, and will you change something to run it again this session?
I think the bill failed because the Department of Education was against the bill, because the people who voted against the bill there was no expressed reasons for doing so. Because it's a common sense bill on the face of it, because the law says the school district can maybe taken over for 5 years. After 5 years is to be turned back over. It's now on January 28th of this year. It was 6 years, and we are into the 7th year. So it just made sense to me, and we're not going to follow the law. I needed to file this law to clarify it and say it's time to return the school district to the democratically elected school board and the people of the school district to run it. And so that's what I did. And it failed on a 4-4 vote. There are 8 people on the committee, and we need one more person to decide to vote for us.
So are you going to try to do something to run it again, or do you think it's DOA this session?
No. I am going to, I am exploring and thinking about, what I can do to run it again, because we just don't have a chance in the Little Rock School District if the people are not in charge of their district after all this time. Because the reasons the things that were cited, like that we had to achieve, and what was cited regarding the budget, everything that's happened and everything that's true in the district right now, these things have happened as a result of being under state control for 6 years, going on 7. So if we are not back to where we need to be, that's on the state. And so that's why I think it's really important that they turn it back over, because we can be a world-class school district. I have no doubt about that. But we will never be able to do it if the people are not in charge. For example, Roby, we do need to pass a millage. We need to extend the millage. But I understand people don't want to do that when you don't have full representation. And that really hamstrings us. In the meantime, it's not even clear to me the reasons that the district is being held on to. I know there are other attempts to create even more charter schools in the district. So I'm left to believe that there are just more things that are in the offing to be done to the district before it's turned back over, because right now it's really been picked apart.
Another issue that has surfaced in a couple of bills this session in a way that we have not really seen in previous sessions deals with transgender people. Particularly kids, in terms of therapy and, some sort of how they can be regulated in that respect, as well as in sports. This has been a big debate on the Senate end already. Why are we seeing this push towards transgender when it's been pretty difficult for anybody to cite specific examples in Arkansas of this being problematic?
That leads me to I conclude this is a political issue because transgender students have been around, for a very long time before we even knew it. And there are not issues. I cannot stress to people how much this is a made up political issue. And it's all about protecting, in this case, the bill that we discussed in the Senate, it's about protecting, according to the sponsors, girls in sports. We don't have any issues. There's nothing that's happened in Arkansas. The AAA that regulates our activities, not been a problem. They actually have policies about how this should work. And people keep referring to transgender girls as biological boys. They're not. A transgender girl is a girl. A transgender woman is a woman. And so these are the most vulnerable kids right now that we have, in our district and among us, period, because the mental health among those kids, is something that we're very worried about. And I've gotten letters from folks who work with them to talk about the depression and suicide we've seen among them. So it really grieves me that we are using our power, to separate kids and shun kids, as opposed to figure out a way to include them, which is exactly what the policy does with the AAA, the NCAA, and others that do not shun transgender students or grown-ups. They figure out a way to include them.
All right. Another issue that I think folds into this to some extent is the hate crimes legislation that was attempted last session. It is back in legislative form this session, but it has not moved yet, which is a signal to me that there's not support for it to move out of the committee that's assigned to. Where do you think that bill stands today? What do you think is the most problematic area of that bill that is holding it up at this point?
Well, I think there are just some people who are just against the bill, period. But certainly with all of the other bills that are being run right now and taking up all the oxygen, the bills on abortion and the bills that you just mentioned, about transgender men and women, or girls and boys, that's taking up so much oxygen right now, just trying to get people settled and let's talk about it. Now, folks have had some discussions about it, just in terms of there's a particular thing, whether it's sexual orientation or gender identity or whatever the case may be, that we are trying to talk through with people. And then there are some who just think we don't need it. And I think there are some people even thinking about, some other bill they would prefer. But we have not backed up on trying to make sure we get the support for this bill, because Arkansas is one of only 3 states in the whole country who doesn't have this bill. And speaking of transgender students, we were just talking about, and the transgender population especially is the most targeted group right now for hate crimes in our country. And for us to even consider that we would have a hate crimes bill, which we had in 2001, and exclude anybody that's in that bill is just unconscionable, because they are in the bill. Everybody that's there, whether it's by race, ethnicity, gender, whatever the case may be, they're there because it's really clear that these are the people who have been victims of hate crimes.
If to get that bill out of committee or to get it passed to the legislature, you have to give up one of those areas that you're talking about, sexual orientation per se, since that one has been pretty front and center with some objections from some legislators. Would you be willing to take that out and let the bill pass to get 90% of what you want accomplished with hate crimes and come back and work on that other section at a later time?
I am clear I would not. And I do carry the burden that from 2001, when I was a freshman and shepherding the bill, through the Judiciary Committee, and it fell to me to make the decision when we were told by some clergy, if you remove sexual orientation from the bill, we will support the bill. I am in no position, nor will I ever sacrifice one group of people for the rest of us. And so I can't speak for everybody else, but in no way am I predisposed to taking somebody out of that bill, because we're all human and we all deserve to have the same civil rights and civil protections. And so for me, that's a clear non-starter.
All right, let's move from some of the socially divisive and culturally divisive bills that and issues you've been dealing with to a little bit more on the economic front. You serve on the Joint Retirement Committee. Y'all heard a
Yes.
bill earlier this week that would kind of create a new retirement system
Mhm.
for self-employed people or people whose employers don't offer a plan. There was some
Right.
pushback on that from some committee members that say the private sector already offers something like this. But what's your sense of where you think that bill is going to go? It did get out of committee,
Mhm.
so it's going to be debated in the chambers now.
That's correct. The problem with that, and certainly, I am not a fan of having the government compete with the private sector. But the problem with that contention is these are people who already are in no plan as the private sector has existed all of these years, because we're talking about those folks who just have nowhere to go. If they were going to be covered by private plans, they already would be. It would have already been offered, because we're talking about a business that when it gets up to assets of $600,000, they would automatically have to, go to a private plan if they're going to continue. But if you're somebody, if you are a small business owner, if you maybe work at a business where there is no chance for you to have any kind of retirement, that's 530,000 people in our state. And they are set up for having nothing more than the Social Security that's being paid in. We know that is not a way for people to live, once they retire. So it's an option out there for people, and I think it's a good thing. We had a real robust discussion about this, and I think it passed with only one negative vote out of our committee. But it's something that we need to do, and not only that, we need to think about more things that we should do in our state as a matter of policy, so that people are not at such a low income level that we have to create this kind of option. But right now, there's just nothing else for them. And this fills that void. I'm proud of Representative Warren for bringing the bill to us. He's done a very good job.
Well, I could tell from the testimony that he has put a lot of legwork and
He
homework
has.
into that. That was
He
not
really has.
pulled that one out
Yes.
of thin air and just put it down on a piece of paper. There was
Yeah.
some definite research done on
Mhm.
that. So you and Representative Warren are also working on something together that deals with the arts and the economy. And I think there's going to be an announcement on Thursday about this. I will let you give our viewers on a Wednesday afternoon, evening, a preview of what's to come.
Well, in 3 years ago, Representative Warren and I got together with Arkansans for the Arts, and the Arkansans for the Arts group brought research to us to show that we are just leaving millions and millions of dollars, and perhaps $1 billion on the table in economic development and opportunity, because we have not leveraged the arts as a part of the economy. So we have worked almost 3 years to get ourselves to a point after we created an arts caucus so that we could think about this in a very bipartisan way. We were deliberately bipartisan. Representative Warren is a Republican, I'm a Democrat, and we did the same thing when we created the charter members of the arts caucus. So taking all of the information they had, all the research, we worked all this time to get this finally reduced to something in a bill where we can show people in real terms what it means. And so we are creating something called the Art and Technology Boot Camps. So across the state, after we're out of session, we will be meeting in different places. I don't know if we get into every art district, there are 8 of them, but to show people that it's not just the things we already have where we can leverage the arts, and that the arts mean more than just singing or drawing or painting or whatever. But in every one of these districts across the state, we're going to be able to show how you can use the arts to leverage the economy in places that we have written off. And we're really excited about it. We're having the press conference on Monday at noon. And right now we have lots of people signed up to support the bill, both Democrats and Republicans. And I am really, really proud of it. This is something people are going to feel good about our doing. It is not a fight. It is working together to move our state forward.
Well, gosh, if we could end the conversation about this particular 93rd General Assembly on a bipartisan, everyone's in perfect harmony note, then that's what we're going to do with this interview right here. Senator
that's
Joyce
what the
Elliott.
arts can do for you. That's what the arts can do.
All right. Senator Joyce Elliott, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Oh, and thank you for asking me, Roby. Bye-bye.
All right. That's all for today's program. I'm Roby Brock. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you next time.